Hey, what's going on? Ben Adkins here alongside my really good friend and business partner, Zach Anderson. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, enjoying the day.
Uh,
It's a beautiful day outside. I'm looking at the waterfront right now out my window, so
nice.
things can't be much worse.
No, I dig it. We've had a busy week, me and you, and the idea behind a lot of what we're going to be doing with this. Because, by the way, anybody that's watching, this is a pilot episode. Where we record these live. At least that's the idea. We're recording these live, and it's supposed to be an insight into our lives, but what we're building. And for any of you that are out there that are trying to build a business that you can run from home, specifically, especially if you get into like software, you're working with other businesses. This is something that I think you guys will get into. And we thought, we're always trying to get to situations, Zach, where we can get behind the scenes with people that are building, digital businesses, online businesses, things you can do from home, things you can do from a laptop, right? That's super sort of, we like hearing those stories. And, we kind of started chatting about this. We were like, wouldn't it be cool if we, did something? Maybe somebody out there might be interested in our journey too. And if not, we'll probably know it pretty quick. But we thought we'd give it a shot. So,
We're boring.
yeah, we're pretty boring, but there may be some stuff you guys dig that anybody that's watching this. So, getting down to brass tacks here, we are in a very interesting time in a business that we just started. And Zach and I have been friends for a long time at this point. How long have we been friends?
Oh, probably 10 years, I would
Yeah,
assume.
coming up on.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, but we really just started working with each other on a text marketing platform a couple years ago, and that's done really well. We're really proud of that and all the things that it's doing to help businesses. And we recently had some problems that both of us actually have been having for a very long time that we started talking about, and we built this new thing. And we really we got it out the door this week, not only for ourselves. We've been testing it for a while, but we got it out of the doors and we let other people in it. And so what this is going to be is it's going to be a story of this software as a service, a SaaS platform that we've put together. We'll kind of go through how we both fit into this, so you get a little bit of what our roles are, how we work together, and how our past experience that led us to this platform, and really what the last week was like. The last week was pretty crazy that Zach and I just went through, and we wanted to, kind of put it out there. If for no other reason, if nobody finds this interesting, someday Zach and I will look back at this and it'll be a nice placeholder for how we felt right now. And tired, I think, is probably one of the things.
I think we're both a little spent,
Yeah,
but excitedly spent, but yes, tired.
right. So, just to give you guys a background, what we're going to be talking today is, like I said, it's a platform called NetEngine. And I'm going to walk you through the last 6 months, what has happened the last few years leading up to this platform that we built, the last 6 months that were sort of us actually building it and, getting all these pieces in place. And then the last week of us really, making sure that it got off the ground the right way. And right before we got on this call, we had a group of people that were our first customers for this platform. And we had people that within, the first 7 days of signing up for the platform, they made money with it. And that's the best compliment you can get, but what got us to that point? And that's what this is about. So let's start out. I think the first thing, man, is a little background. I'll get my background in a sec, but why don't you start? Where do you come from? What was, part of your background that led us to NetEngine? Because I know NetEngine, for anybody that doesn't know, builds websites. But it builds websites in a different way than your standard page builders out there or WordPress, things like that. Zach and I both have had quite the experience in our past because we build websites for clients and customers of our respective agencies and friends. And it's always been this thing that's like, God, this is a pain. And there's lots of tools out there that give you all this stuff to tweak, but we really needed something simple. And so ours kind of attacks the problem from a different direction, but how we got to this, we both had different sort of paths and different sort of frustrations with building websites for ourselves and for our clients. And so, Zach, you start out, and then I'll kind of come in from there. What in your agency building websites, and with everything you've done, kind of how did all this come together in your head? Because I'm actually really anxious to hear this because I know our conversations, but I'm sure I'll learn some stuff here.
Well, I mean, So I've had a marketing agency for a little over 10 years. That's kind of how I got into building software. I've got into all that. Basically, I was marketing to mainly dentists and some home service type of thing. And every time I got a new customer, I would basically force them to rebuild a website because it didn't do what it needed to do. And there's like certain check boxes that you just have to have when you're doing local marketing and trying to get customers to convert on the website. And so 10 years ago was probably maybe a little bit further than that was, when I built my first customer website. I used to build websites for people. I don't know how to code or anything like that, but I would have people do it for me. And I just remember back then, it was a it was a process. I mean, I used WordPress, bless their heart. It's just it was just the most common platform to use, but it would take, 30, 40, 60 days just to build relatively simple website with all the back and forth, and I had to have a developer do it and do all those types of things. I actually even got to a point in my agency because I was building so many websites that I built an actual like 4 or 5 templates inside of WordPress so that I could then build them rapidly. But that rapid build still took 2 weeks to 4 weeks to do. And so I know me and you have been talking about this for at least 2 years. We've been like, since we started working together and building other software, that we wanted something that wasn't like any of the other stuff. Because there's all these landing page builders out there, there's WordPress, there's all that stuff. But the reality is when you go and build a website on a landing page builder, you still have to like put all the blocks together, right? You still have to do stuff. And I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if I could press a button and it literally put me in a box, like, literally a box. Like I pressed a button, it created a website in like 10 seconds. It was completely done. It had all the check marks that we need, where all for the conversions, what all the information the consumer is looking for. And then all I had to do was simply go through and just make minor tweaks and be done in 15 minutes. I didn't think it was possible. I literally was like,
It wasn't.
I don't
It
know
wasn't
how
for a
I'm going
while.
to do
Yeah.
it.
Right.
I was like, I don't understand. I'm like, so, we started building it and we went through our first rendition. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is possible. You can actually build, what I like to call single page applications, just one page website, have it be like constrained boxes of just filling out information, but still flexible enough to make it look completely different than the other thing. And so the whole reason we got here was speed of implementation and simplicity. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like I hate it when I go to those websites and it's so busy. There's so much stuff that I'm like, I just want to know who the dentist is or the chiropractor or the plumber is, what they do, and call them, right? I mean, literally, I like looked at myself and like, what do I do as a consumer when I need to do something? I go out there, like I just moved to Gig Harbor a couple of years ago. So when we moved here, we didn't have certain things. And so when you need a new dentist or when you need a new chiropractor or whatever it is, what do? You go to Google, you look on Google, you go to their website. I immediately go to the About Us section. Don't even care about anything else because all dentists are, they're trained and certified.
Right.
So
Right.
I want to know if I like them. And then I go back and look at reviews. That's how I make
Yeah.
my decisions. So all that other stuff is just bloat. And so I'm like, and the fact that this kind of came together the way it did and that it is so simple and it is so efficient. And I'm like really excited that, I feel like we're going to change the world,
Yeah.
because how there's always these waves.
Right.
There's these waves, and I feel like we're going on to a different wave. And I feel like, honestly, we can change the world with the way we're building these things and the simplicity of it.
Oh, I'm with you. I mean, like my whole story, I was a chiropractor, and I was in my office, and I remember I built my first website on WordPress, and put it together. And that was a process, man. I mean, like that, and that's the thing is like I had enough technical background that I think maybe a lot of folks that are, they're, and not to say because I know a lot of chiropractors that are very technically savvy, but, it was something I didn't need to be spending my time on. I guess that's my point. But I spent the time, I had to fumble around with some things, but I got them where I needed them to be so that we could, have a website up and that it would show up the way it needed to show up when people came out there. And you're right, there was a couple things for me that I was like, the general public doesn't care about what I think is special about my business. I mean, I can do I knew marketing enough at that point that I was like, I know I need to aim at a certain group of people. I'm not here for everybody. I knew that stuff. But like the general public, when they land on my site, a lot of times it's the same sort of feeling as what you said. It's like they know that we're all certified, right? Like we've all been approved by some governing body to be able to do what we do. So what's the difference? And I think the thing that most people miss is the difference. Yes, they'll go check out what techniques you do. They'll, do you adjust this way or whatever. But a lot of what really brought people close was that when they were on the site, they felt like they could get to know me. And when people came through my door, they knew my face and they had a general sense of something about me that they felt like they had gotten some behind the scenes information. And, so like it almost like they felt like they had one up on me. And that's the thing. If you started stacking my site back then against like a lot of the other chiropractors who'd literally been there 20, 30 years, it was anybody that, really had no idea who was there. They would go and they would look and they would have a sense of, I think, felt like I know this person before they ever step foot through the door. And that's, what? Sometimes just having that is a win, right? That is the win. So I started kind of digging into all these and I literally compared all the websites of the other chiropractors in town. I was like, I can't beat them with experience right now. I can beat them with customer service. I can beat them by being present out in the community. I think I'm a pretty good chiropractor, so that's good. But, they've got more experience on me. But I can definitely beat them here. The problem is it was literally Zach. It was me going to work, seeing patients, and then coming home at night and working on this thing. And that's, it took forever to do that. From there, quite accidentally, but my business grew really fast. So I had a lot of people that were coming to me with small businesses because I was, like I said, pretty active out in the community. They were like, hey, can you help us with this? And so I started doing that. And of course, what happens, you get like all this work. People are like, hey, can we do this? And like, I didn't mean to have an agency. I just had people that were like, you seem to know what you're doing. Can you help? And I was like, sure. And I remember the one that almost broke me, like the one that almost like was like, I don't know that I need to be helping other businesses anymore. And I love this business. If they're ever watching this, like they'll know exactly who they are, but it was a law firm. And this law firm came on with me and they wanted me to build a website. And I built them a beautiful website, but it took like 3 months. And it was a whole thing. Like it was just a whole thing to get all these pages together. That quite honestly, man, looking back on it, everything looked beautiful, but there were so many things. There were so many pieces to this puzzle that we didn't necessarily need. And, I got to the point, I got to the end of that project and I was so tired by the time that I had that website built that I was like, did I charge enough? Did I charge enough for one? And number two was like, God, how do people build agencies, digital agencies that are helping businesses? How do they build these things where they've got 100 clients or something? And I just couldn't imagine from the way I was doing things that was a possibility. Now you fast forward a few years down the road, I start bringing on extra help. And there's times when like I've had 100 clients or more. I had to do the exact number. I know it was more than 100, but like I've had over 100 clients that we had on WordPress. And, I didn't do that. Like I had templates like you in WordPress. So like that was cool. So, I figured out how to shave some time off, but there was still no way that I could manage it all because anybody that's ever built a website in WordPress, if you know this, you know that like there's always updates. There's always like, and they got some automatic updates now, so that kind of helps, but your plugins will die. And if one plugin dies that's on all your sites, you have to literally, and they've got some things that are like managed platforms that you log in, but it's clunky. And I think that's the thing that really bugged me about that for a very long time is like, I just couldn't see without it being a giant expense to have enough team on hand and enough technical people and devs to bring in that it was like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And so I got to the point where I think we've had this discussion too, and anybody that does websites out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get to the point where you're like, we do websites, we have a ton of people that ask us for websites, but do we really want to do this anymore? Or would we rather just move on to the other things that we do and that be our thing? And unfortunately, most agencies that I know move on. And there's only a very few that will do it. And when they do it, they're going to charge, $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, $100,000, and that's no lie for it. That's the only work that they'll take on. So what ends up happening, and it's really frustrating, is you get small businesses that can't afford that. They're stuck, and it's like it's really kind of a tough thing when you start looking at it from all perspectives. Because as an agency, it's the easiest way for me to get customers. Everybody wants a website, or they want to redo their website, but they don't want to spend a lot. But from the business standpoint, you start having to build your own stuff, and when you have a problem, you're on your own. And even if you're with a big company that's like there's tons of page builders like Squarespace, things like that, all have their place, by the way. But it's not the most fluid process, and it takes a lot of your time. If I'm a business owner, when I was a chiropractor, I just wanted to be a chiropractor. I didn't want to have to do the digital marketing. So fast forward down the road, we get to where we start talking about this quite seriously, and it was just like, we're like, do we build a better way to do WordPress? I think that was the first conversation. Like, do we build something?
That was actually the first conversation.
Do we build something better that makes managing WordPress easier when you're building a website for a chiropractor or a dentist? And we did the math. We sat down, we did the math, and we could not quite figure out a way for it to be as well put together as we wanted it to be. And so we finally just said, well, if we had to drop an obscene amount of our money out of our own pockets to build this, like, what would it look like, and what would we want to do? And so we started building this thing, and we took a lot of our copywriting experience, because anybody watching this, we have been marketers for ourselves, for our other business for a long time. We took a lot of our copywriting experience, a lot of the templates that we knew were working, and we started building this. And so we start building it. We come out of the gates, and I want to give 100% behind the scenes of this, if I can, just so everybody that's like, I know we got a lot of people that run agencies that'll probably watch this, or at least hopefully they'll get some value out of this, but we also have a lot of people that run software platforms that may be watching this as well. And so we came out of the gate, and we offered a very limited sort of package, and it was for a yearly fee, right? And so we built this template, and I remember going into that call, because we did a webinar where we were just going to walk people through this thing, right? So we did a webinar, we walked people through this thing, and you and me always see the value in this. Like, we always see the value in our idea because of what it does for our agencies and our businesses. So like, that was simple, but you don't know, if anybody else will. So This is probably about 6 months ago. We go in, we do this webinar, we invite a bunch of people on to come hang out at the webinar. And I remember getting to the end of the webinar, and I was like, I have no idea if this is about to. And I remember we dropped the link where people could sign up. And did we break it at first? I can't remember. Like, something happened. I was like, it was so many people.
Yeah, we broke it.
Yeah, it was so many people hitting the order page from our webinar that literally, what we, and by the way, we were not using our software to process the payments. By the way, this was something, but the idea is Stripe couldn't keep up with what we're doing. So like, we knew something was up, and it took us like 2 seconds to get everything fixed. And when we did get it fixed and people came through, I mean, it was amazing how many people, we had over 200 people basically jump in right away. And I don't know about you, like, I remember our phone calls, but I was dumbfounded with that. Like, I was like, okay, everybody else that has, this type of business has the same problems as us. And it was great because we had just sold this thing, this idea, and we had raised funds to continue to fund it. But I think the best part for me was that I'm like, I didn't feel so alone. Like, I knew me and you, and I want your thoughts on it. Like, the big thing for me is when we were going through this sale, and it was like a few days long, I was like, everybody out there that is helping small businesses as their business has exactly this problem. And that was refreshing to me. How did you take that when we first sort of opened the doors? It was limited. It didn't even do all the things that it does now, right? Go ahead.
No. Well, my biggest fear, I guess, or not fear, just my question was, I'm like, okay, so we're basically telling people to go away from what they're like used to. Like, let's just say it's a marketing agency or a chiropractor or whatever. They have these sites that just got, 7 menu items, drop downs on everything, to this whole concept of a single page website.
It's very zen.
Because that's really, it's just very zen. It's very simple, and I was like, I mean, I get it because it works. I know it works. I have like one of my best converting websites for a dentist is a very similar website to what we created. It does have some menus because it was on
Right.
WordPress, but it's literally just, it was a box. And I was just, I was like, okay, are these agencies going to get this? Are they going to be like, no, I need this? And, I was shocked because I knew a couple of them I knew really well just because I talked to them a lot. And I remember they had like these full on bloated big websites. And they immediately, the same day, flipped it, switched it, and turned it to our server and just went down to simplicity and minimalist. And, I think there's a movement going towards that.
Yeah, I think so.
Simplicity and minimalist. And I mean, I see it even in like Amazon and stuff like that. Amazon's big, but it's very simple. I mean, their concept, the way
Right.
they build their pages of their orders, like it's got stuff going on it. But have you noticed that Amazon's not changed their UI on their main
Yeah,
page? Like when you get a product for what, as long as I can
it
remember.
works. Right.
If it works, don't break it. And there's elements, and that's why I always like analyze all this stuff. I'm like, so Amazon, I look at their elements and like you grasp the concept of why they put things in where the places they put them. I just didn't know that the agencies were going to grasp the concept around this type of site that's designed for intrigue. Because it's like, you give just enough information.
Yeah.
You just give the enough information to be able to make a decision to move to the next step.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's simple, and it works. So it's kind of crazy.
And I think that's the thing is like, I think a lot of people that are building websites out there for themselves or for, customers and clients, they try to get too much done on the website. The website is to bring people closer and give a minimal amount of information so that they can take the next step. The next step is typically they're going to call you, they're going to buy a little something from you online, or they're going to actually come through your door. That's when you win them over and you turn them into like a lifelong customer. But a lot of people are really just trying to sell their big stuff right there on the site. And that's where we run into a lot of problems. And with our stuff, we've, anyway, exactly what you said, some of the best converting pages we've ever seen. It was very minimal. What was on there was just enough. There was nothing more. It was to check the conversion boxes in someone's brain saying, yes, this is the way I want to go, because they look safe. They look professional, and the site feels comfortable. And I think a lot of people don't understand that comfort thing, right? Which is when you're on a site, if you had to stack up, if you move to a town and you had to stack up 10 chiropractors, you had to stack up 10 restaurants, the website, and this probably isn't fair, by the way, to anybody watching this, but the website that is the most organized, the most put together, and the easiest to navigate, it's going to give the impression that that business is also the most organized, the most put together, and the easiest to work with. And it's, like I said, it may not be fair that what's going on the website is also going on in the business, that thought, but that is the thought that comes across. And so when we started putting this together, I think that was the thing. We didn't know if anybody else would agree with us, even though that it works. You've got the data to back it up. You never know if anybody else is seeing the same stuff as you. That's going to lead them to saying, hey, yes, we're in with you. We're in this with you guys. We are on the same page. You all believe what we believe, and let's jump in. Let's do this. And you're right. When we started looking at our stats on this, we figured out real quickly how many people had actually switched their site over. Not only did they sign up with us because they believed in it, but they stuck around and they actually did it. And I think that was the thing that was cool. So from there, we started asking these people, because the first people we brought through were folks that had digital agencies, and they wanted a site that was better so they could get more clients. And we started asking them, what do you guys want next? Overwhelmingly, from day one, it was, we want to take this same minimalist concept, this same set the site up fast, but it look amazing, and it not be something that's bloated over the top. We want to take the same concept. We want to offer it to our customers. And so while that is a good thought, because it just completely verifies everything we were thinking, that also meant that we had to get to work 6 months ago and start building this darn thing. And so that's where you really come in. And I'm actually interested, because we've not really dug into this much between the two of us. For those of you that don't know, me and Zach, we're good. Like I said, we're good friends. We talk about it every day. If not, it's odd. But this is one I actually haven't asked you. When you started having to put together what the task was at hand. Were you overwhelmed by like what? Because you're like, oh my God, we got to build all these niche templates. We have to have the sites, a certain way. We have to have our agencies where they can not only, where they can log into each of their clients, but the clients can't, like it was a whole process. And was that intimidating to you, or what were your thoughts when we were like, yes, it's time to go. It's time to start building. You're the one in charge of that.
I don't even, I mean, it's been, I don't know. I don't even know how long it took me to build the reseller stuff. I feel like it was like 4 or 5 months. But I don't know if you remember. Remember, I started down a path that was different. So I started down a path of, I'm just going to build. So this is how I didn't know what to do. I'm like, how am I going to do this at scale, make it simple, make it user friendly, and that is push button? And I'm like, I had no idea. And so I'm like, I started building like a template, just like we did in the beginning, because I remember I used to do this with WordPress, and just at the agency level. And then the agency would, click a button to create a template. But then I'm like, then the agency is going to have to go through and customize everything for like a dentist. And I'm like, okay, this isn't. I'm like, I had to like sit there and like ponder. And I'm like, hey Ben, I got an idea. Why don't we build a master template builder up at the top level, super admin, that you can go out there and create the site and niche specific and just press one button and it blows down into the agencies. And then the agencies, all I have to do is press one button and they have a dentist site. So once I got that concept, I know people may not have understood that at all, what I just said.
I'll jump on that in a sec, but go ahead.
So, once that light bulb went off, because what I was trying to do is I'm trying to remove the developers out of what I do.
Yes.
And I know that sounds kind of mean, but it's not. I'm trying to remove my developers out of me being able to build things rapidly. Yeah. And the only way that I can do that is be able to have the ability to create a master template, edit it to a dentist, a chiropractor, whatever, press publish, and now all of a sudden it shows up at the agency reseller level, and they can press one button that has all the content. All they have to do is update images in some About Us section, and it's done. And so I'm like, okay, so if I can do that, that means that my developers no longer have to build these templates. It's just Ben's job. And so, and I mean, it was a big pivot. I got like a month, if not, into development, and said, nope, guys, we're doing it this route. And they all looked, they thought I was nuts. And I'm like, no, just trust me. And so once I actually got to a point where it was ready for Ben to start playing with, I think you built 15 in like a weekend, like full blown in a weekend. I never really got to play with it much because I was so knee deep, head down in development. I actually didn't even build my own template like for a real business until after we launched it. And when I got done, I remember I called you. I'm like, dude, this thing's really, really, really good. Like, I'm like, what the?
Well, and I'll hit on that point. Like, for anybody that didn't follow, and I'm sure everybody followed, but anybody that didn't quite catch what Zach was talking about, when we first built this, it was like we were going to go out, we were going to be like, this is the template that works for this, and hand it to a developer every time, and then they would code it into the system, and then that would get pushed down. And so it was like this one at a time thing, where like every time we had a thing, because like I said, between Zach and I and a lot of our friends that do the digital agency thing, also besides building software, we have a lot of folks that have things that work, right? And so the whole thing was like, okay, let's take this, let's put it in. And what we ended up doing is we were like Zach said, he's like, no, we have to do it where it's like, we don't have to go to the developer every time that we want to build a template. And so that's sort of how this started coming together, was we started building a builder for ourselves in the back end so we could push it down. Because the idea is anybody that has a digital agency, we want to give them a palette that they can paint on, but not get confused with. And I don't say confused like anybody that isn't smart enough or anything like that. Like me, if I have too many things that I have to do or too many options, it slows me down. And the idea is like I have when I'm writing copy or things like that, because that's my side of things. A lot of it is writing copy. I have a list of things I have to include in the copy. If I don't have that list sitting next to me, Zach, and now some of it's actually in my head because I've seen this list so many times, but if I don't have that list next to me, I'll go off into left field and I'll look up and it's 4 hours later. The idea is if I have that list of things that I have to fill out that are like, okay, if you want to convert a visitor into a customer, you have to hit all these bullet points. what we ended up doing is we built this into the software. And by the way, I hope if anybody's watching this and they're not enjoying the nerding out part, sorry. But we built this into the software, so like there's not a lot of
But the nerding out part is so much of the actual marketing part.
right,
It's so bizarre. It's
right,
like we got to be a nerd marketer. Like
yeah.
we were nerd marketers building software. I don't
No,
know.
I feel you. And so I think the thing is what was fun for me as someone that had struggled with this problem of building websites for 8, to 10 years, is that there was always so many options. There's also always so many things to do. And really, when I really got down to it, it was the 80-20 rule. So much of it didn't matter. So much of it didn't matter at the end. It was only these few things that mattered. And so we started building to the templates so that we had them done. But if somebody got in and they were wanting to sell these things to their client, they could just use our work. I mean, and of course, edit some things to fit the client, the color scheme, uploads the logos, put personalization in there. But like, how do you put personalization at the forefront? How is personalization the only thing you have to worry about, not all the other pieces that normally come with it? And so I think that's the thing. Now I get on the phone, and just to give you guys a background, and then we're going to get into the last week of kind of where we've been with this. But how this works for me is I get on the phone with the client, I walk through a list of questions, and they're like, this list of questions takes me 15 to 20 minutes to get answered. And then, and by the way, it's not always me on the phone. Sometimes it's somebody on my team, but like we'll go through this list of questions. And after that 15, 20 minutes, we pretty much have what we need. They'll send us a few pictures in the email directly after the call, but we've got everything that we need. And then I sit down 15, 20 minutes, we build the website, the website's done. And that's it. It's like all the personalization. Yes, we're using a lot of like very template driven things, but it never really looks like it or feels like it because of it has the perfect amount of customization and nothing more. And so it's really hard to explain unless you're actually in the platform exactly how fast this makes this. But I think this takes us up to the last week. And this is where I'm just absolutely blown away. So I told you about a few months back, like 6 months back, we did the webinar with everybody, and they kind of helped us out by being founders. They helped us out, tell us what they wanted more of. They built their own website with this for their agencies. And so we came back and we didn't do a massive, or at least at this point, we'll probably update you guys with something when we do this one.
Yeah.
But right now, we only invited the people that got in 6 months ago to be a part of this. And a huge amount of these folks decided that, just a huge percentage decided, yeah, let's go. I want to do this for clients and I want to do it right now. And so the last week, leading up to the launch, I don't care what happens, no matter how ready you are, there's always things that come up at the last minute. So Zach and I very much were putting these puzzle pieces together, getting feedback from people, and we got everything out. We launched out. Everything was good. Over the last few days, we've been polishing a few things. And today, so a week ago from today, and by the way, we shoot these on Wednesdays. A week ago today, we have what we would call an office hours call. And we do that every Wednesday before we shoot this. We do an office hours call with these folks. And so we showed them the stuff. A bunch of them signed up over the last week. Today, we do what we call our first certification call. And the certification is just so that we can make sure everybody knows exactly how it works, exactly how we work. So a lot of people that buy into our software, they don't just want to know how the software works. They also want to know, how do you guys sell it? Like, how do you sell websites? I already know. I wouldn't have bought in if I didn't know how to sell websites, but I'm kind of interested in how you guys do things. So we'll do kind of those calls. So we get on our call today, and we're fired up because we actually get to talk to the people that just signed up for this. At least that was me. Like, I was just like, cool. I've been sending out, reminders to folks in the software via email. And I'm like, they signed up. I want to know how they're doing. It's been 7 days for some of these people because some of them signed up the first day, but some of them kind of filtered in. How are they doing? So we get on. And my first question on this call today is, have any of you actually used it? Because I didn't ask you. I was afraid. I don't care how confident I am that we've solved a huge problem for people that build websites. I'm always like, I want to hear from them. So just the stream of comments in this webinar to me today, Zach, that was like, yeah, of course I built my first website. Like, so that's good. So I'm like happy pretty quickly after I answer the question, and then something interesting happens, and this was the thing that I did not quite expect. That kind of took me off guard, and then I want your thoughts on this. I had 2 or 3 people right away that were on this call that said, Yeah, I've not only have I built some, I've sold websites. I've got checks in hand because we're actually taking this to directly to people. It's selling because we solved the problem for them. And I think that's the thing is like not only have we, or at least we're on the path. I would never want to say we've solved something. I like to say we're on the path of solving something. But not only are we on the path of solving this problem of, how do you build really nice looking websites that convert, fast? Not only are we solving that problem for the people that are selling websites, we're also kind of in this position now where I feel like we're solving a problem that the businesses are seeing too. Like they're like, just my website's too much. There's too much going on. So when they see this, they're like, it's clean. It makes sense to me, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And so, what were your thoughts when folks started jumping in and saying, I actually have checks in hand? Because as a software developer, and you kind of live more on that side, but as the person that was just like, this was a dream in my head, a couple years, same as you, for someone to come at me the first week that this thing that we thought was amazing and we put out into the world, and them to say that, like, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was odd. I think we had like 80 people on the call or something like that. I think we have over 100 resellers right out of the gate. And I mean, most people, they don't take action fast. It's just the way it works. And especially in the agency
Everybody has
world,
their pace, right?
Everyone has their path or their thing, and we hadn't done. I mean, the software is simple. It's not hard to understand. If you are any kind of an agency that knows how to use any platform, this is like dead simple. So it's not complicated. But I was shocked that how many people had said, "Oh yeah, I already got two. I've got two of my customers. I got another one coming." And then I was like, "But we haven't even showed you how to actually really sell this." Because a lot of times I feel like it's as simple as a sell it is. It's a unique sell because I'll tell you a story. I was talking to a dentist because I sell mainly to dentists. I do local SEO and websites for dentists. Dentist came to me, I don't know, a month ago or something like that, and wanted me, talked about doing marketing and websites for him. And I'm like, oh yeah, I told him about NetEngine, about what we were doing. And I said, I thought I was going to get up against a bunch of resistance. Like I told him, like, yeah, what we're doing with NetEngine is I can build you a site, won't cost you very much. I go, it's because these are the parameters of why we build it this way. And I explained to him about single page application, where it's just one page if you wanted to, what the core features are. And he's like, it's funny you say that. He goes, I actually am looking at rebuilding my website. And he goes, I look at my Google Analytics all the time. He goes, guess where all of my traffic goes to? And I said, the About Us page. He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's the whole concept around this site is this is me, this is my staff, and these are the three things that I do really well.
Yeah.
You don't need much more. I mean, and he was instantly sold. Plumber, same deal. I have doing work on my house, and a plumber came in, and they always ask me, so what do you do? And I'm like, depending on the situation, I'm like, I just usually tell them I build software.
Right.
I don't really be specific, because I have 3 software platforms now. So, I just say software instead of one specific. It's like, well, what they do. And depending on the individual, I'm like, if it's a restaurant, I'm like, oh, I do customer engine, which, this is that, depending on those types of things. So it was a plumber. I'm like, oh, I'm actually just building this website builder that builds a website in like, 15 seconds, full blown, ready to go, SEO optimized, mobile friendly, mobile first. He's like, I don't have a website. He's like, can you do it for me? I'm like, yeah. He's like, we can trade or whatever. I'm like, no, I'll just give it to you for free. I don't care. Just give me a testimonial. I mean, it was like, yeah. He didn't even care what was on there. He's like, oh, it was, and I literally, so I'm building him a website right now, and he gets it.
I think that what you said, because we glossed over this earlier, but this is the thing that you just said that I think is a huge takeaway point, that like, we talk about the boxes that you got to check in someone's head, right, for them to convert. Now, obviously, someone will come to your website for your location, for your hours, for your phone number, things like that. Obviously, that's got to be there. But the other thing, and I think a lot of people miss this, is because they try to do too much, and they miss the core thing, which is, can I see the face of the person that's going to be helping me, like the expert, like. That's the thing. Who is the star of this?
Who's showing up at my door?
Yeah, like, can I see that face? Can I see the support team that's with them? Like, who is when I I know it may not be this person that's answering the phone when I call. So who are the people that are also there, and them seeing a face of who they're going to talk to on the phone, them seeing a face of, like you said, who's going to show up at their door, or who's going to actually. I think with chiropractors it was huge for me because I was like, if they are coming because of a headache or neck pain, they're probably thinking I'm going to be turning their neck, because you don't know, especially if you've never been to one before. Seeing this is important. No matter what you think you look like, seeing a face is important. It's a bonding experience. So seeing the person that's going to take care of you, seeing the team that's behind them that helps them, put all the magic together, and then seeing like the three things that you're the best at. That's it. And it's like, some people hit me up and like, well, I do like 10 things. I'm like, doesn't matter. What are the three things that get people through the door? And if you can get those things out there, you can convert people on the other stuff when they come in. But I think that's the concept of, it's not about tons of bells and whistles. It's not about all these things. When we put this together, it was like, do you want to have all the bells and whistles? Do you want to do all these things? Or do you want to win? Do you want your website to be something that actually converts people into customers? And that's kind of what we built. And, I've been a part of projects before. I know you have too, where I've been very high-minded about these things, thinking, I know conversion, I know copy, this is how this all works. And then, even though it is how it all works, nobody else gets it. So I think that was the greatest thing today. And, as I said, we're just trying to document our journey here. But coming off that call today, realizing not only do we get it, folks that do this stuff every day, build websites for people, they get it, but their customers also get it. Like that is the greatest satisfaction for me, is understanding that we're all having the same conversation. We all are seeing what's happening. We all are wanting to build things down to simplicity and zen it out and be more minimal so that we can get a job done. But more importantly, with those things, do we actually make a sale and connect with our consumers, all of us? And I think that's kind of where we're at, is can we build something that connects with consumers, gets them to come in, and when we're building this, instead of it taking just hours and hours and it being such an excruciating process to pull these things out of ourselves, can we boil the process down to something so simple that we're there? So I don't know about you, man. I mean, like for me right now, I'm really tired. I'll just be, I'm going to tell you, I'm like extremely tired. But it's a kind of tired that it's very satisfying, because I'm coming off a spot right now with the launch of this where I feel like we've put something out into the world that has function. And for me, and this is, I think, where we get into some of the other weird lifestyle stuff. If you have a digital agency, if you have a SaaS, you didn't get into that to have a traditional work experience. It's important for you to be mobile, right? It's important for you to be able to get away, and and that's the thing. So I think for me, it's about what do I leave behind, and my goal with this is I want to be, and this is stupid, I've not told you this, so don't laugh at me. I want to be on vacation somewhere, and in 6 months from now, 12 months from now, a couple of years from now, I want to be on vacation somewhere. And I want to be looking for a chiropractor in that town. I want to be looking for a restaurant, and I want to come upon one of our sites, and just at random, like that's when I know like that it'll really connect with me, like the impact, because this is one of those things that when we build those things, it's good. And that's the thing. I know when I see it that place will be doing better than it was before we were there. So like, that's the mission. Like, obviously we got to make money. We got to sell these things. You have to have a living. But I think the larger picture for me is this a perpetuation? Because like I said, with all we've been through, and like, let's timestamp this so that like, when this was, right? This is right around the time we've been through a year and a half of pandemic. And we're coming out of the summer, and we're going back into maybe pandemic part 2, electric boogaloo. Yeah. So, right. And it's like, for us, I think we understand, because we've talked to a lot of our customers in our agency, that they're fine. They're fine because we've been a part of that journey for them to keep customers, to get their existing customers to come back more. But they had to have different tools and different tactics to have those tools work than they had when we were coming into this. And I think that's the thing, is like, there have been times when we've been like, okay, is this the best time for us to build a new tool and just start pulling money out of our pockets? And I think that you and I were both like, if the kind of people that we want to be, yes, it's absolutely the time. So I think that's it. I want, here in a few years, I want this to be something that this particular tool is out there. It's building a lot of things. I don't want it to be a tool that people have to think about. If I'm getting the other side out, and then I want to hear your thoughts on this. I don't want this to be a tool that someone has to constantly be in the back of their mind thinking, oh, I wonder if I need to log into that today. I wonder if I need to take care. I want it to be a tool that they build something one time. It's out there in the world. It's doing its job the way that it's supposed to. And maybe every year or so, they're like, oh, yeah, I haven't logged into that. Well, that looks good. Cool. If we can build something that's like you log in, you set everything up, it does its job, and you don't have to think about it, I feel like that's a huge, huge goal for us to be reaching for. And I think we're on the way. I mean, what do you think?
No, I completely think it's funny that you even say that. That's always my goal in life whenever I build software is like I want to be out in the wild on vacation and see my software
Right.
at some random place. Right. I swear to God, I search for it sometimes. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. And I've seen it before and I'm like, that's crazy. They're using my software. And that's like a stamp of approval, sure. I guess, if there is anyone. But I mean, this goes back down to like, I've had so much pain and agony in my agency when it comes to this world of websites. It's like, even if I get a customer that has a website, in 5 years, they want to redo it. Mm-hmm. Well, like my vision is, I want to be able to, if in 5 years someone wants to redo their website, I press one button and it's a new website. Yes. It's just the latest, greatest theme. Like that's my literally my goal is a button like, hey, we just came out with a new template that I think will convert a little bit better. It's more on the modern terms or whatever the newest stuff is. And they literally go, change theme, clunk, and it just loads it all into there. So that like I have this like major vision of long term that kind of combines everything that's all that other stuff is doing, but simplifying it. Yeah. Like I have no problem it being complicated at my top level, right. Like where you're building the websites. Right. But when it gets down to the lower levels, I want it to be like a box, like you're stuck, you know? Yeah. You can't, but in a good way. I'm building them so you can't screw it. Yeah, you can't screw them up. Like it's not going to look bad unless you've got pink and green, you know, like some really random crazy colors. But all the other stuff, you can't, it won't break it. And that's the thing that, because I love searching online all the time and looking at websites and businesses. And I see some of these and I'm just like, oh, you almost had it. Yeah. And then they add some stupid little something somewhere and I'm like, you know, it's like, why do that? You think you're doing the right thing because maybe someone said something, but in all reality, when it comes down to it, there's like, I think what do we boil it down to? 10 different things on a website that we need? Something like that. I don't remember what it was. Match,
but yeah, it's pretty minimal overall. And it's, you know, obviously you can turn it into a monster, but I think that's the thing is like from where I'm standing, it's about, with everybody right now, it's about how do I remove complication from my life and get down to the basics of what I love doing, and not have to worry about the other stuff. And I think that what we've built is, as we've sort of been in this game for a while, we've seen lots of cool technology coming out that allowed you to do a lot of cool things that you could never do simply before. But I think we've sort of hit that extreme of it allows you to do so many things that it's just, you get lost with it, at least me. And so that's what I love about this. It puts me right in the pocket of doing exactly what I have to do and nothing more, and then moving on to the next thing. And I think that's the thing is like, once I get a site done, I really don't have to log back into it. And that is us building something we want. And like we were saying, I think it's nice to see that other people understand where we're going with that. So, I think the big thing that I want to do is we want to get on, we want to talk about this, but anybody that happens to be watching or listening to this at some point, what we'd like to do is like, are you a agency owner? Like post something in the comments if you got thoughts on this, if you got questions, or just want to introduce your agency. That's cool too. Are you a SaaS platform person? Like, are you building something cool out there that we should know about? Do you have a question about like, you know, how we've got, like, if you just want to know how we've got our finances set up, like ask, like, these are the things we wanted to start doing this because we felt we have a lot of things that we're doing on a daily basis. Number one, we wanted to document it for ourselves down the road, maybe our kids too. I think that's fun. But I think the other thing is, everything that we've done for probably the past 5 years with this stuff has been very internal. Like, you have to pay us to hear some of the stuff that's working for us. And that's great. We love when people pay us for things. There's nothing wrong with that. But we wanted to sort of get out there and start connecting with folks that are doing things and maybe not paying us, maybe aren't in our circle. And we wanted to kind of start forming a community. So like I said, if you have an agency, if you're someone that you're like, I'm not even to the agency point yet. I'm just someone that's trying to get out of my job. And I want to provide value. And if someone's going to pay me, I want to provide value. Tell us your story. Or if you're a SaaS platform person, that's building something cool, we want to hear about it. I think that we can all share some cool stuff. So, Zach, I've talked a lot. What else, man? What did I forget today?
Not a lot. I mean, it's an interesting journey that we're on. And I mean, I know that this stuff has existed before, but I feel like it hasn't existed from a perspective of where we're coming from. Like, because I always, whenever I build software or do anything like that, what problem am I solving? What am I trying to achieve with this? And not even from like, it's literally down to the point of just like, how can I make multiple people's lives simpler?
Right.
By leveraging technology, automation, systems and processes, right? That's kind of what it comes down to. And, it's even to the point, like, imagine if I'm an agency owner and I just run into someone and they need a website and I'll be like, hey, I'll just, give me 15 minutes and I'll send something over to you and let me know what you think. And literally inside of 15 minutes, you could build the website for any business out there by just looking at their existing website, taking the images, the content, and being able to send it to them and be like, does this work? And there you're done. And that's like, obviously you can do some more customization to it, but the simplicity of this it's almost too simple, right? It's like, did we really? Because I mean, the code on the backside is super complex, but the output, it's like, what does Steve Jobs always said? He said, it's easy to make something complicated. It's difficult to make something simple.
Isn't that true?
It was some kind of quote like that. And I've always emulated he's like the one guy that I've always been like, now that he's not only an incredible marketer, he's an incredible speaker. He understands UI and UX like nobody's business. He understands simplicity and he put it all together. Yeah. And Cook did a great job of continuing running the company. But I mean, this whole concept of where we're coming from, I put a lot of that around the stuff I've learned from Steve Jobs and how he built Apple and where that went. And, the fact that iPhones, this is why I love, so this is another kind of a concept behind it. Apple, you can't add anything to it. It's like the operating system is the operating system. It's like, it doesn't break. And the reason that it doesn't break is because you can't install all this other crap on there that bloats things. And so that was kind of the concept. I'm like, well, I can build a website builder that's almost got that same ecosystem of Steve Jobs, even to the point where allowing other people to build, AKA apps for the platform that work perfectly, that are approved, integrated inside of it. So I mean, like that's kind of like where my long-term vision is on this whole thing. Is like making it an ecosystem.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't want anybody to think that like our goal when we started this company was to compete with like a Square, where you can build sites there. And this is the part where I mention all the competitors, right? Like I don't want I'm a huge fan of like Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels and what they've done, and for that purpose, it's great. Like, and we talk about WordPress a lot, but like I love WordPress at the same time because, I'm like in NetEngine, I'm building sites for my podcast. I'm building sites for small businesses. I'm building sites for my agency. I'm building sites for like YouTubers that we work with. Works great for those things because you need a core thing and nothing else. I'm not building websites for a bank that needs to put financial stuff. Like, that's like where I would refer that out to somebody else. But like 95% of everything that's out there, you don't need someone to pay you $5,000 to build a website. Like it's not. But for the work that I would have to do to build it on those other platforms, like that's what I would expect to come in. Otherwise, it's not worth me doing. So I think that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to fill in that gap of what is the most effective tool for a business like this. And if you're not a business like this, well, you probably can afford to pay someone to do a lot of the custom coding and a lot of the work, and that's great. But for the folks that sort of fall underneath that, I've just seen such a shift, and I feel like a lot of small businesses and YouTubers, and it's not difficult. You could throw a rock right now and we could hit 15 different page builders or website builders. I think that, what we're trying to do is fit into a space that is about, I want to set it up, I want it to look great, I want it to be done fast, and I don't want it to be super expensive. I want it to be something that is just I'm paying a small amount every single month for it to do its job, and I know that it's out there doing its job behind my back for me. It's my 24-hour business card. It gets everything that I need to do. It gets people through the door, but I don't have to worry about updating it all the time. I don't have to worry about it going down. I don't have to worry about, is it structured the right way to actually, say the things I need to. It's just done. And I think that's what we're after, and I think we're getting there. I mean, I think we've got, the templates that we've got right now are great, but I think the other side that's really exciting for me, and this is kind of what we'll leave on, is we've got a great community of people that are, part of the reseller platform, and we're so lucky, by the way, with this. I can't even just say how lucky we are to have this. We had a great group of people telling us, hey, what about this? And sometimes I'll be like, no, I don't think I think that complicates things. But a lot of times, like somebody on the call today was like, hey, can we do this? And I was like, God, that's smart. Like, why didn't I think of that? Like, that absolutely plays into what we're trying to do, and it doesn't overcomplicate things. And I think that that's the cool part that you and I have been really blessed on. And anybody that's watching this that is, I don't care if you do an agency or you're building SaaS platforms and software, I think the key is build yourself a community. Like, really invest in community. Like Zach and I, one of our, I don't want to call it a superpower because I get really tired of hearing people say that. I think one of our greatest assets in our business is the community that we've invested in continuing. Like, when we could put more money in our pockets, sometimes we put money back into our community, because I think everything that we do have in terms of like data to build good things and, folks to help us to launch products, it's because we have people that support the heck out of us. And by the way, if anybody's watching this and wants to know kind of how to build that, reach out. Like, we'd love to we'll hop on the phone with you and just like, this is what we did. Like, maybe we'll do a call soon on like how we built communities from sort of the ground up around our platforms. I don't even think about that anymore because it's just sort of natural, but like it was very intentional in the beginning. And I remember you asked me, because I was doing a lot of the community management before we hired on our team. You're like, have you slept? And I was like, have you slept with the software? I mean, it was very much that, but there was a lot put into those things. And I have to say, if you're one of our community members, someone that's a part of, what we do already, thank you. Because we just, we never take it for granted, but man, we could not do the things that we do without the community that we have. And so I think, that would be, we need to put that on our list. Zach and I have a list of things that, unless somebody complains enough that we just don't do this anymore, that we're going to talk about those kinds of things. So I'll put that on the list. I think that's a good one. That's all I got this week, man. I feel like we've kept people, I'm big on my timing. For those of you that don't know, I'm very big on like knocking this out. We're sitting right at that hour mark. And so anything you want to leave with people, but next time I think I've got a cool topic for us planned. I won't reveal that yet, but anything that I'm just excited about NetEngine. That's all I'll say. I'm excited about the process. I hope you guys like the documentation of where it came from, what the last week or so was like, where we're going with it. Zach, anything else that I'm forgetting?
No, I mean, I'm just, my wife has been, and my father-in-law, and lots of people around me have been basically yelling at me to do what we're doing right now. They're like, you've got to get out there, share what crazy things you've done. And I always thought it would be like I just don't want to be that braggy guy. I don't want to be that I'm so cool, look at me. And so, this is a challenge.
We are the opposite of cool. Yeah. I mean, I like you and you like me.
I'm a nerd. My wife always likes to say, she says, I'm the smartest stupidest person she's ever met because I'm kind of a moron, but yet I can figure anything
Yeah.
out. But no,
Stubborn.
I'm excited to like try and get out and really share my positives, negatives, experiences, especially in this really weird world of building SaaS and kind of I'm excited to kind of go through this path and see what our journey looks like in 2 years, and obviously this is the first one, and obviously we're going to do it on a lot of different topics. But I mean, I want to give as much of my knowledge that I have through failure, out to as many people as possible, and not do it in a way that's very egotistical. I want to try and be as humble as I can, and just be able to allow the things that I've learned through hard knocks, to get out there. So I'm actually, as much as I was scared of doing this, I'm glad that you pushed me to do this, and I'm hoping that it goes somewhere, that people find some kind of value in this, because honestly, anything I can do to help out in the world is what I want to leave on the mark on this planet with.
I love it. I love it. And just so we can have like complete transparency as to like the things that are going on in our heads when we're thinking about doing this. Zach and I, we build software, we sell software, we help small businesses. Like that's our world. We're not so great at like the backgrounds of videos and lighting yet. So if you happen to be watching this, if you have like some suggestions, send them our way. Like we would love, and like I said, we're here to build community. And quite selfishly, we want to talk to more smart people. And so, yeah, the idea is that we document this. If anybody is going through something right now, maybe we're a little bit ahead of you, maybe we're behind you, and you've got some cool things to add too. Please do. And so that's what we want to do. We want to hear from you, whether you're listening to this on a podcast or you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, something like that. There will be links to show notes below this. And so if we mention any links, anything like that, of course, we'll put those in there. And then, we haven't really officially decided on, what we're going to call this, but at some point it's going to start looking cooler, because we know a lot of cool people that can do those things. I have a lot of them that work for me, and that know how to do these things, but they have to have a title. So we're going to work on this, but the main thing is send us some feedback. Let us know what you think of this, and we're going to keep on doing it. So anybody that has been watching us today or listening to us today, thank you for hanging out with Zach and I. And we got more cool stuff coming in the next little bit, and we look forward to chatting with you all soon. So take it easy. We'll see you next time.